Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Daily Villa podcast as part of the Global Sports Podcasting Network. My name is Dan Tilley and I am your host for today. I'm here to discuss Aston Villa's Champions League first leg and knockout round clash against Club Brugee, a team that's been flying high in the Belgium League, and we know all about them from the league phase where Tyrone Mings had that unfortunate moment, giving away a penalty and losing 1-0. So it was time to see if we could make amends in Belgium. And let's start by having a look at the starting lineup. Now, Unai made some changes for the starting lineup, one of them leaving out a recognised right back. I was quite surprised to not see Matty Cash in the starting lineup and seeing Disasi there instead. Not sure how I felt about this, as Matty isn't bad going forward, and I thought that was going to be quite key for us. But I was also keen to see how Disasi did, and the game got off to the best possible start with Leon Bailey putting in a fantastic strike into the bottom left corner, and it was the first goal that Villa have scored in 50 years in Belgium. So it was a long time coming. And I thought that was going to be a real moment to settle the nerves. And, you know, we've got off to a good start and let's drive forward from here. But Villa didn't let that happen. Our lead lasted for only 9 minutes. So in the 12th minute, Bailey lost his runner down the right-hand side with Disasi tracking his man. And this is where I get to butcher some names, so apologies. But De Kipper scored a lovely goal. I don't think there was much Martinez could have done with it, but Bailey really didn't follow his man. So despite scoring that first goal and putting us ahead, he slipped up with that one, in my opinion, I'm afraid. And that goal seemed to lead to a long point of Villa suffering in the first half as Bruges grew into the game, with Martinez having to make a great save to keep us from going behind in the first half. It did seem to me that Villa was looking light in midfield, and that seemed to play out for a lot of the game. McGinn and Tielemans never really took control, and Club Brugge were able to pass through our midfield in between the lines, which really left us exposed, I felt, at some points. And I think we were lucky to go in to half-time at 1-1. But, you know, we survived, and yeah, I felt we were lucky. Now, when we come back, we will be discussing the second half and seeing if Villa were able to get any sort of result out of Belgium.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
And welcome back to the Daily Villa, where we are looking back at Villa's game in Belgium against Club Brugge. And let's now look at the second half performance. So in the second half, Villa seemed to come out with quite a measured approach, taking their time, and not seeming to find that final ball. A little bit similar to how our performance was when we met them in the league phase. And that was quite concerning for me. I think a lot of it was down to Bruges' defensive discipline. They defended really well for a large period of the game. But looking back at it, I also felt that there wasn't enough movement from our forward players. Now, maybe that was because of the discipline of Bruges' defence, but Morgan Rogers seemed to have large spells where he was being kept out of the game, and Rashford didn't seem as sprightly as we've seen him in the Premier League and indeed the FA Cup. So there was a bit of a concern there for me. And 63 minutes in, Unai made 4 substitutions with Asensio, Kamara, Ramsey and Cash, all coming on with a hope of shaking things up. And with Asensio coming on, this moved Rodgers out to the right, with Asensio playing in the number 10 role. And I thought Rodgers did really well on the right-hand side. And if we look back at, if we already know the result, this seems a bit like a masterstroke. But could this have been done any earlier? We didn't seem to be getting a lot of width, so I possibly would have brought Cash on at half time to try and give that extra width. But there's me looking at this with only my 5-meter swimming badge. So I'm not criticising. It's more of an interesting point. Could this have been done any earlier? Please, you'll have to let me know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. And once those substitutions have been made, the game started to turn into a bit of an end-to-end affair, with Asensio having a decent shot saved, and Tyrone Mings making up for that defensive error in the league phase with a fantastic goal line clearance, the golden toe of Tyrone Mings, keeping Villa in it. And I think that was so important, because if we'd have gone 1-0 down, I think we'd have really struggled to pull it back. But luckily, Tyrone was right place, right time, and managed to keep us in the game. Now, with that, a massive stroke of fortune turned the game on its head, and Villa had been soaking up quite a lot of pressure throughout the second half, and then a ball out to Rodgers, who whipped in a vicious cross that was turned into his own net. And I once again apologise for the pronunciation. Mekele, turned it into his own net. And what an important event that was. And it's quite a shame in the end, because the Mekele had been playing so well. He'd been keeping people so quiet. But you've got to take your luck when it comes. And, it was a fantastic cross from Rodgers. Mekele had to do something with it, as Watkins was right behind him, lined up to score with a tap-in. So fortunately for Villa, it went in. He left his goalkeeper with no chance. So that brought us to 2-1. So after these short messages, we'll be back to discuss the rest of the game.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
And welcome back to the Daily Villa, where we are discussing Villa's Champions League clash against Club Brugee. We left you with Villa being 2-1 up, and it really was a crazy 5 minutes, because really 3 or 4 minutes later, Solis took out Matty Cash on the right-hand side of the penalty box. It looked like it was a bit of nothing, but Matty played it quite cutely and felt contact and went down. And the referee pointed straight to the spot, and after a short VAR check to make sure the ball hadn't gone out of play in the build-up, the penalty was rewarded. And I must admit, when I saw Tielemans with the ball in his hand, I was a little bit concerned, but as soon as Asensio took the ball out of his hands, I don't think I thought I saw any other result happening. It was a great penalty to the bottom left corner and a real professional job, but that's what you'd expect from a multiple Champions League winner, and I think we're very lucky to be having him in our ranks. And if we're not trying to go out and buy him in the summer for what, quite frankly, whatever wage he's on, I think he's the sort of player that really does elevate us to the next level. So that brings us to the final result of 3-1, and Aston Villa taking a 2-goal lead back to Villa Park, leaving Bruges with a bit of a mountain to climb. But we've seen with previous results that they played fantastically well against Atalanta and gave Man City a good game. So, I wouldn't have necessarily described it as over yet, but Villa in a very promising position to get through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. And I'm 41 years old, and I never thought I'd be saying that. What a fantastic campaign in the Champions League Unai Emery is putting together, and we should be really proud of the lads doing so well. And Villa rode their luck on occasion with this. It might feel to some that we've been papering over the cracks a bit, but let's just take a positive result from Belgium and look forward to them attending Villa Park in a week's time. Well, that's all we have time for today on the Daily Villa podcast. Thank you for listening to me, your host, Dan Tilley. Be sure to get in touch across all socials that we have. We really love to read your comments and what you'd like to see on the show, and your thoughts on the game and Villa in general. This podcast can be found where you find all good podcasts, and please check out the show descriptions, and don't forget to follow us or search for us on YouTube. This has been a Global Sports Podcast production. Thank you for listening, and up the Villa.